Andy Campbell! It's in! It's Andy Campbell! It's in! Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero! A superhero! Breakthrough! It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City!
Hey guys, and welcome to the Andy Campbell Show, episode number 27. I apologise for that. I just played the intro clip about 3 times, and then where I was checking it on my other screen to make sure it was live, that started playing as well because I got to mute it. So we had a triple introduction. But there we go.
Don't get bored of it. Don't
Guys,
get bored of it, Si.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Welcome. We are live on Facebook and YouTube and simultaneously again. And we'll get those introductions down at some point. It's so much easier when you're recording it and I can edit out all my mistakes. But yes, there we go. We are here to talk football. I'm Si, and I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Andy Campbell, Cardiff City legend, who we'll meet in just a second. But just to do some light housekeeping before we get going, you can find all the podcasts and interviews and series that we do at Ace Podcast Nation, youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation for the video point of video shows and audio at all the usual podcasting apps. Please drop us a subscription because that is the best way to support the show. Helps us grow and helps other people find us who are not found us yet. As per usual, the Championship, or as we have said many times, the best league in the world, did not let us down this weekend with some great goals, strange results, action, and more. We'll start with any other business where we'll have a little chat about some of the biggest stories around the footballing world, and then we'll go into detail with the 3 main featured games. We'll talk about all the other games, and we'll give our 2 for 2. And Andy will answer your questions, and me if people are so see it fit. But also, we have been asked to pick our combined Welsh and English all-time 11, which will be interesting. So we'll be doing that in the question and answer portion of the show towards the end of the show, which will be interesting to see what me and Andy come up with for a Welsh and English squad combined. I fully expected mine will be 11 Welshmen and then a few Englishmen on the bench, and Andy's will be 11 Englishmen and Gareth Bale. But we'll see. We'll see. And then we'll finish off with the best 10-second segment in all of TV and radio and media. It is the fake Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Andy teaches me something about his northern culture, whether it be food or slang, a well-known phrase, or even a place, as we prepare for me to go up north and visit, so I fit in like a local. Joining me to talk about all this and more, he is ready for this now. I've had to come up with 27 now different introductions for you, and this is yet another one. Joining me to provide his expert analysis and insight into being a professional footballer, plus, of course, his witty banter, the goal collector, the ginger whippet, the fastest man to ever come out of Middlesbrough, Davy Jones' favourite son, the one and only crown prince of the Millennium Stadium, the QPR dream killer, Cardiff City legend, all-round top man, and super daddy cool to be, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. Very happy to be here. Very happy to do this again, and really looking forward to
Indeed.
it. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, do you know, I can't believe that I just did that with the intro, because I'd I had it timed perfectly, and it was all lined up nicely. And then where I have the link on my other screen, just to make sure that it was going, it goes live and everything in order, I forgot to mute it, so it played 3 times.
I don't get bored of seeing it, Si.
Professional.
Honestly, I don't get bored of seeing it.
Yeah, no.
Blame me.
No, me neither, I got to say. But there we go. I could watch it over and over, mate, I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
Interesting week. Interesting week of soccer.
Yeah. Some highs, some massive lows for football, which we'll go into a little bit, especially in any other business. And it fascinates you sometimes about opinions and things that we spoke about previously on the show side, and now what we're getting talked about. So it's quite scary, really.
It is, yeah. It's all sorts going on, mate. All sorts. And just before we'll get, as part of any other business, I wanted to touch upon the Cardiff City FA Cup replay from midweek last week. I don't want to spend too long on it, but I thought it was a bit of a debacle, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be, they were comfortable to score in the 96th minute and stuff, and then go on and lose the game after getting back in the lead, and then the penalties was just, it's just embarrassing. Now you'll be able to tell me better than I would know, but although I have taken penalty in a penalty shootout and I did miss, but there we go. I walked up all confident. I did keepy uppies as I was walking to the penalty spot. It was
worst thing
all my teammates said, "Oh, we watched you going up. We thought there's no way he's missing this," and the keeper saved it. I changed my mind, see, just as I was taking my run up. That's what the problem was. But I had a real issue with Cardiff City's order of penalty takers, because I think the first penalty was Aidan Flint. Come on.
Yeah.
You've gotta be taking, it's gotta be one of your forward players, or at least your attacking players, taking that first penalty, put it away, and just take the pressure off a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I saw him walking up, I was not happy.
No, I think it was disappointing anyway. The game was a disappointment, and then it finished the way it finished with it. I was just really, it's like a damn squid, wasn't it, with the penalties? It wasn't even close affair. That their penalties were quite efficient, and Cardiff were just, I don't know. It looked like a game that the club weren't that interested in not winning, and and that's disappointing considering the history of the FA Cup, and we've gone on about it in the show about how important the FA Cup can be, and if it had a little bit more prestige at the end of it, then teams would take it a little bit more seriously. And if that's, I know Cardiff have got a bigger fish to fry, like Liverpool did, and other teams have. But for me, it's a nice day out for the fans, and it's a chance to progress forward and get into a national stadium and going to Wembley, and Cardiff you've got a good history at Wembley, so it would have been nice for a potential cup run, and it breeds confidence as well, but the league's the most important thing according to the manager, and you've got to believe in what he's telling us, because he's in charge really, so it's his way at the minute, and he's deciding what he thinks best for the football club moving forward this season.
Yeah, I was just disappointed because, like you said, winning breeds confidence, and Cardiff need to get some momentum going. All season, they have not been able to get that real winning run going. Like if you think back to the season before last when they went up, certainly from around Christmas time, they just ground out 1-0s and 2-1s and just all these gritty results, but they kept winning.
Yeah,
and you never fancied them to win. Each weekend you were like, oh, I don't think they're going to win this, but then they just kept grinding it out. Whereas now, this year, you just cannot see it because.
But when you keep the same side, players don't seem to get tired when you're winning games. You know what I mean? Like Mark Bowen hardly made many changes. He went with the strongest front line for the 3 games. You know what I mean? For the first game, for the league game. You know what I mean? And it's just go with the strongest side you can, and then if you lose, then at least you've learned something from your team. That you've been beaten by a better side. But sometimes I look at what have you learned from the game, because Have you been beaten by the better side? Not particularly, because you didn't put the best side out, so it's a difficult one to take sometimes.
Do you ever take any penalties in a shootout?
Yeah. I took one. Actually, it was in a cup game, and I took a penalty in it was for Oxford United. I took a penalty in the 90 minutes, scored. Took one in the shootout, missed, and then it came round again, and I took my second penalty shootout, the second penalty in the shootout, I missed again, and we lost. So it was just disaster because I scored 2 goals in the game, and then I was just nightmare. It was just it was like I was a villain. Whereas I'd scored 2 goals, had a decent game, played a full 120 minutes, but then you feel as though you let everybody down by. You know what I mean? It's a climax though, which everybody wants. You know what I mean? It's what the Premier League managers are asking for. They're asking for no replays and go straight to penalties. So if that's what the Premier League sides want, then they're probably going to get the wish anyway. So makes it interesting for fans, I guess. But it only makes it interesting for fans, if there's full attendances there and everybody's there to watch it. If it's overpriced or there's not a big attendance there because of team selection, then it just becomes a bit of a non-starter for me.
Yeah, like we've discussed many times, they should make the prize better for winning the FA Cup. They should make it a Champions League spot because teams will then do something. They won't play the teams that they're playing because they'll want to win it. And Cardiff had a prime opportunity to go through to the next round, playing a Championship side who were, they're not West Brom, they're not Leeds, they're not the teams in form. They're a team which has been in form, but Reading haven't won a game for 6 games.
No, that's what
that initial start and going.
Yeah, I just
it's poor.
It is, mate, and it just it's consistency. You know what I mean? Getting the fans back on side because he hasn't had a great start since he's took over as manager. So you would have thought he would have wanted to get a few more fans on his side than against him. And I think the result of the performance again is just gone against him, really.
Indeed, we did. You would have just seen a message flash up on the screen just now, people, which is Joe Hannon said that Andy Campbell, greatest school coach, go in.
Joe was one of my. Joe was one of my. I wish Joe owes me money for giving him a game. Joe was. Joe was a top kid. One of my kids at Thirsk School when I was at secondary school. And we had some great games. We went over to Holland for a tournament. We had a right laugh.
Indeed. So, I just wanted to share something else as well, which Jamie has just posted, and I completely concur. And he says, download and listen to the podcast with no name, which is our movies and TVs podcast, and Jamie is the co-host. So go and download that after you finish watching this show, of course.
Yeah.
And it's a good lad. We did a show on the Super Bowl trailers recently.
Yeah.
And what else do we have? I saw another. Gaz Cubbins said Neil Harris sacked by Millwall, but good enough for Cardiff. I don't know if that was a dig or a question. I'll take it as a question.
It's a statement, Simon.
No.
It's a statement. He got sacked by Millwall. The next league game by Millwall, I think they went and beat Leeds, and since it hasn't really worked out. We've gone for like, and it's it's not really what the fans want at the minute. I don't think
it's not working on. Okay, so let's move on to any other business where we discuss all the different stories from the footballing world. What have you got, mate?
I want to talk about this winter break in the Premier League and the pointless of staggering the winter break. If we have a winter break, then everybody has the same winter break. You know that if Premier League's going to have a winter break, then just have a winter break. There's no point in staggering the games just so that there's still Premier League football on. It just becomes an absolute farce because what were the games at the weekend? We had Everton against Crystal Palace live on TV. We had Watford against Brighton live on the TV, and then you had Sheffield United against Bournemouth and no disrespect for the 6 of those sides, Si, but they're probably the 6 sides that you probably would not want to watch live on TV. So
No.
the Premier League haven't looked at the games and thought, you know what, let's split Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. You know that even if they did it on relegation or they did it on Champions League places, or I just think sometimes that the whatever goes through their heads and the logic behind their decisions is just laughable. Because for me, I don't know. Even if these games were played in a different country and they went down that route to try and make football bigger in United Arab Emirates, for example, you know what I mean? Like they spoke about years ago, that I just don't get it, and I just don't get why they had a staggered one. You know what I mean? In every other country, Germany, they have a winter break. It's not Dortmund have it one week and Bayern Munich have it the week after. It's everybody has it together, and it is what it is. Because if Liverpool didn't have their winter break till this week, then all their players could have played against Shrewsbury, and I just think it was a little bit unfair that, because you know what I mean, the Premier League could have easily changed that, so it worked out for everybody. And I just think it just becomes a little bit of a farce for English football and just makes us look stupid again.
Yeah, it's pointless. Like, either do it or don't, but don't half-ass it.
I wouldn't do it, Si.
I
wouldn't do it. I don't think they need it, and I just think, I look now. You know what I mean? They're on a winter break, Si, but all the teams were in a different country training anyway, so they're probably training harder than what they would have been if they didn't have a game. So some of them, it just defies logic to me. It's just, you know what I mean, that you work hard because you've had a couple of days off, and just keep playing games, get the season finished earlier, let players have a rest before the Euros in the summer.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's frustrating because, and do you know what, it harps back to me a bit. You know, we talked about in the Premier in the FA Cup about VAR and how it can. They were having it for Premier League grounds, but then other grounds they weren't having it, and we discussed how that's not fair. There's not an equal tournament because you've got teams in the same tournament not playing by the same rules effectively. And it's kind of like that again with this, because like some teams are having a break, some teams are not. So how is that an even playing field, or how is that a fair, equal tournament? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
No. It doesn't add up to me, Si, because you look at Newcastle. Newcastle played on the same night as Liverpool played in the FA Cup. Newcastle put their first team out at Oxford United. Liverpool put the kids out. So Liverpool are having a longer break than Newcastle United are, because Newcastle United put their first team out in the FA Cup, and rightly so. You know what I mean? But for me, it just doesn't make sense. You know, it just becomes a little bit of a farce. You know, I know the managers are in charge of their football clubs and make these big decisions, but end of the day, it's about football as well. And you know what I mean? That a part of me wanted Shrewsbury to win just so that it would prove a point to Jurgen Klopp, but now it looks like it's the best decision in the world.
Yeah, and I understand to a certain extent why he wants to do and play the kids, and I think he should be kind of like forced. I think there should be some sort of, like, they should have to play a certain amount of first team players.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I've got no problem blooding kids. Play kids in the cups. That's what I want. But like, I was disappointed to see so many kids in there.
Yeah.
But like you say, surely Newcastle have got a smaller squad than Liverpool, but yet Newcastle haven't got a break. Liverpool have. Yet Liverpool didn't play their first team players, and I get Liverpool have played more games, but it just
doesn't sit right side for me, because I just think it's football here, and you know what I mean. That I don't know. It's the biggest, history-wise, the biggest cup competition in the world, the FA Cup, and it's got a massive history. And you know what I mean. For me, if when Liverpool go to Chelsea in the next round, if they put the same team out, then do you know what? I'll respect Jurgen Klopp 1,000,000%, but I guarantee you he won't, because if he plays the same side as what he played against Shrewsbury, Chelsea will rip them to pieces.
Yeah, but he won't, will he? That's the thing.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with any other business was that there's a couple, but one I was going to briefly mention was couple of weeks back, we discussed Simon Jordan had been on TalkSport and he had said about the Premier League should set up a Netflix style, or even not even the Premier League, the FA should set up a Netflix style streaming service for people to watch all football in this country. Well, we both agreed it was a pretty good idea. It's probably the way it's going to go. And we discussed it in depth in that show. So I'm not going to sort of discuss it too much, but there was a story yesterday, I think it was in the Times, where it looks like it's going to be a real thing. It's going to be trialed in a couple of years. The Premier League CEO has discussed it openly, so it's obviously something they're looking at. And I'd like to think it's because they're watching this show, and that's
1,000,000%.
why.
I think it's also they tried the Amazon thing, haven't they? And I think it's been a relative success, probably on a smaller scale, because obviously there's not enough of them to do it. You know what I mean? They haven't got enough games because obviously Sky run the world, but there's got to be enough games for this to be viable and to happen. And if that's football across the board, or it's you can select, or it's Premier League, or it's Championship, or whatever it may be, however they're going to trial it, it's got to be, everyone's got to buy into it. And it's got to work for football fans. It's not just for football clubs. It's got to work for fans, because the fans are the ones. If it wasn't for football fans, football would be dead. Be absolutely dead.
Yeah, it's and sadly, I wonder whether it's a money grabbing thing by the FA as opposed to doing right by football fans.
Listen. There's got to be a money element in it, because the FA.
Of course.
The FA are the richest organisation in the world. You know what I mean? FIFA don't struggle. UEFA don't struggle. You know, every single football governing body, there's absolute billions involved in it, and you know what I mean. So they're not stupid about when they do things. It's, you know what I mean, that they've got Sky involved, obviously BT involved, and the Champions League, obviously, you know what I mean, moved from terrestrial TV to pay-per-view. You know, it's just got to be accessible for everybody, because football's a sport that we want everybody to watch, and I'm on about the younger generation, because if clubs are going to price things out and there's going to be less people watching it on live at the ground, then everyone needs to watch it on TV.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you lose young fans, kids don't want to watch football, the game will die eventually, because you know people like me and you are going to get too old to watch and go, and it's our kids and their kids who they need to attract.
Well, what we can't afford, we can't afford Middlesbrough and Cardiff fans, for example, of turning a 10, 11-year-old boy or girl away than watching your local side, who's going to pay the next 20, 30 years, and let Man City or Chelsea or even a Barcelona or Real Madrid taking over the support, and the little clubs, so to speak, of losing out on all this money. And you know what I mean, that's just one person. If that happened to thousands of people, it's going to cost you. You know what I mean? And I think clubs miss a trick with schools as well. You know what I mean? Or Gaz's comment there, people don't care about fans, and you know what I mean. Do you know what? It smells of that, because you look at the local schools. You know what I mean? Let kids in for free. Fill the grounds out. Cardiff in the FA Cup, empty. Middlesbrough ground since probably left the Premier League two or 3 years ago, empty. You know what I mean? Let the kids in, get the next generation in. You know what I mean? Let them in for a quid. Just do something to get bums back on seats and get the atmosphere back in stadiums, because there's nothing better as an ex-player. You know what I mean? When I played, that it was when you played, the ground was full. You know what I mean? It's rubbish having to generate your own. Your own atmosphere. You can't do it. You know what I mean? And especially when games aren't going the way that you want them to. You know what I mean? And then that's when you can hear the fans and hear each comment, and it's just not a nice place to be.
Well, the thing is, though, mate, right? For Cardiff, there's no excuse, because they knew that replay was going to be empty from the previous cup rounds. So there's no excuse to not give tickets away to let kids in free, or let kids in for £1. No excuse. But they don't want to, because they'd rather take a few £10 or whatever it costs than and then not be full than actually have a full ground of kids who haven't paid or are not paying.
Yeah.
And like Jamie says, he says his kids now are more interested in watching like esports rather than watching actual football anymore, because I think, and that not just kids, that goes for like adults and everyone. I think people feel more disjointed from the game than they have ever before.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that, I think, is to do with the prices. The new grounds are killing the atmosphere, which I think is a big issue. Overzealous policing, I think, is a problem as well, where you've got, for instance, you had a Newcastle fan the other week who like got his bits out, which he's got to be punished. He got a lifetime ban from Newcastle, and then you've got other things which are much worse.
Yeah,
and they get
4-year ban for racist. It was racist. It was a racist.
That was it.
Racist chanting towards Tammy Abraham, and he got a 4-year ban. He got a 4-year stadium ban. It just makes you feel sick, because, you know what I mean. I'm not saying this bloke did the right thing or did the wrong thing. I'm not condoning what he did at all whatsoever. But whatever he did and why he did it for a bit of fun. You know what I mean? People don't do racist chanting.
Messing about.
People don't do racist chanting for a bit of fun. They do it to be vile. They do it to be derogatory towards people, and it's backfired on the young man who's been banned for life, because obviously he travelled down to Oxford on a freezing cold Wednesday or Thursday night, whatever it was. You know what I mean? You're a diehard fan. You know what I mean? So he'll be absolutely devastated. But for someone to get banned for 4 years for racist behaviour, racist chanting, or racist comments, is just disgraceful. Disgraceful, because it's not just that side. Forget football. You know what I mean? He's broke the law. So you should be getting the book thrown at him. You know what I mean? Get sent to prison, lose your job. You know, there's bigger things than. Do you know what I mean? It's outrageous. Outrageous.
Yeah, what annoys me is we've talked about this. We're 27 shows in. This is 27th show. We've talked about racism in some form several times this season already.
Yeah.
And every time we've talked about it, we've talked about how the FA, FIFA, UEFA don't do enough to punish it when they, when they do have instances of it, or when they catch people. With CCTV and everything and TV cameras, the way it is these days, they can find out who it is in seconds.
Yeah.
Look at that guy at the Cardiff Reading game who was doing the aeroplane. The security people within the Cardiff City Stadium, they knew who he was, where he was sat within seconds.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that UEFA and FIFA and the FA, with all their millions and money and whatnot, they can't do more to not just identify the people, but then punish them. They punish them. They don't.
But they set the precedent on our side, don't they? I'm going back to a very early show when we were talking about Bulgaria and their fans. That Bulgaria, what did they get fined? £50,000 or €50,000, and I had to play a game behind closed doors. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, the game was against
nobody cares about.
The game was against Kosovo anyway, and there'll be no supporters there. So do you know what I mean? It's just it's despicable. It's disgraceful. But you know what I mean? They've got to make a stand. You know what I mean? And soon. People refuse to play. That'll be when somebody takes it really seriously. When people are stopping playing football because of it, and rightly so, because this is it's getting beyond a joke now. You know what I mean? We talk about it. We've gone on about it. We've whinged about it. We've been brutally honest about it, and it doesn't really do you any good sometimes.
Yeah, I've got an interview scheduled for Friday with a West Ham fan. His name's Cameron. I don't know the full story yet because I've been put in touch with him by someone else. But it's something like he did some form of protest and managed to get on the pitch as a flag waver, and he was protesting the owners, and I think he had a T-shirt on. But obviously, I'll know the full story by the time I do the show.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very interesting to see what he's got to say, because West Ham fans are a couple in the chat. And, they're not happy bunnies at the moment. So just before we move on to the championship games and stuff, the last thing I wanted to touch on was there was a lot of stories in the papers this last week about Lionel Messi finally coming to the Premier League. Like a bit of a debate, where he can only go to a handful of clubs because of the amount of money he earns. But also, obviously, he's fallen out with Eric Abidal, who's the director of sport at Barcelona, I think, and he's fallen out with him publicly.
Yeah.
I think the only difference between this and previous times he's been kind of linked with a move away is, number one, his contract's not coming up, but he has got a release clause, hasn't he, at the end of this year to go on a free. But also, Lionel Messi hasn't really been one to moan in public, and he kind of got stuck into Eric Abidal in a social media post, I think in an interview as well. He's not being shy and coming forward. He's not happy.
Yeah. I listened to Pep's interview about the whole thing, and he's advised him to stay, which smells to me that he's leaving and he's going to Man City, because whenever somebody brings out a comment as straightforward as that, then them two would. If he leaves and he comes to England, there's only one manager he will go and work for, and that would be Pep for me. That. Regardless how well Liverpool are playing and how big Manchester United are and Tottenham's new ground, etc. And for me, if he's going to work with another manager, because he's quite loyal and he's quite honest about the way that he is, that he'd go and play for Pep. It would be a monstrous move for any footballer to make. But also, part of me thinks that maybe he's looking at Cristiano Ronaldo. He's seen how successful he's been in his career, moving from country to country, and all the plaudits he's getting. That maybe he's a little bit like that. That I need to give it a go. I need to prove to everybody and show everybody that I am the best player in the world. And the only probably way to do that is by winning a World Cup, which chances of that happening are slim. Or move to a different country and dominate the league like other players have dominated the league. And he's no different. It would be fantastic to see him week in, week out, and to be able to focus on how he played in an English league. But I don't know. Until it happens, I'll be very surprised. I know he's fell out, but the amount of money which would be involved in any kind of deal, transfer fee, free transfer, wages, it would just be astronomical. It would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't see it, but the one thing I would say is that whenever people compare the Messi and Ronaldo, is you get this. The first thing that people throw as a pro Cristiano Ronaldo thing is, well, Ronaldo's done it in Spain, he's done it in England, he's done it in Portugal, he's done it in Italy now.
Yeah.
Messi hasn't. Messi's just stayed where he's comfortable, and there's only 2-3 teams in the league. And there is an aspect of that. But would you know what I would like to see? And I actually think there's a slim chance of it happening, is I'd like to see him go to Juventus and play with Ronaldo.
And play with?
Because I think that just play like a 1 year. They're at the end of their careers. They're not what they were. But that could be magic just for 1 year.
That'd be scary,
to see them play alongside each other.
Yeah, it'd be scary.
Yeah, especially when you've got someone like Aaron Ramsey playing in the same team.
Yeah. That would just be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would be incredible to see them play alongside each other. Gaz says CR7 better than Messi. I can't argue. Argue.
I think there's pros and cons, isn't it? We can argue for and you can argue against it for me. But yeah, it's the stats for me. The stats don't lie, and Cristiano's stats are just ridiculously good and strong. So yeah.
Even going back to his United days, they were just ridiculous. Those last couple of seasons for United, they were just stupid.
You got to remember, he didn't start straight away as well. He took his time settling in England. So So imagine if he'd hit the ground running straight away, so to speak, he'd have been unbelievable for him.
Well, people mocked him, didn't they, when he first came for all his step overs and the way he did the step overs. Not mocking him no more.
Exactly.
Well, not for that anyway.
No.
And moving on to the championship, we'll go into the games now. But I just wanted to touch up on this because I've got to say, I am not easily shocked I'm not easily like offended. It takes a lot to offend me. And yesterday when I was kind of just flicking through and Twitter and stuff, and someone retweeted a video from the Barnsley Sheffield Wednesday game just after the game. And there was a young lad who was basically he's 16. He's a vlogger, I believe of Barnsley, but maybe Sheffield Wednesday, still quote me on that. And there seems to be some sort of disagreement or scuffles going on. He wasn't throwing any punches in the video. He's not doing anything.
Nope.
He's just kind of on the outskirts of it. He's clear, and by the way, clearly not like one of these 16-year-olds who looks 20.
Yeah,
He's clearly a kid. And this male police officer comes up behind him and smashes him over the back of the head with
his baton
truncheon.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah. And he cracks him over the head. And I tell you what, Andrew, could have killed him, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Because he didn't see it coming. He wasn't expecting it. Never mind the fact that a load of people were tweeting like truncheons for crowd control. The head and neck are considered red zones, where you only hit people there an absolute last resort. So I'm talking knives, bombs, guns, or if they're killing someone, basically, where you've got no other option but to knock them out, I suppose, to get them off. And the noise they made and everything about it was just sickening. And there was pictures of the gash. The gash is like inches wide, and it was needless. And if a football fan, they're handing out banning orders for getting your bits out, but if a football fan done that, they'd be looking at nearly probably 10 years in prison. Yeah, that police officer, well, if it was any other part of the country, I'd say he's probably looking at losing his job. But because it's the South Yorkshire police, you just don't know. Then I wouldn't be surprised if he gets off with like a warning. It was shocking, mate. And
it was out of order, saying. You've just said it there. Like the worst thing about the whole thing for me was the noise. That, you know what I mean. Regardless what the police officer thinks the lad's going to go and do, you know what I mean, because he was heading towards something or somebody, so he's going somewhere. Even if it's at pace, you know what I mean. Unless you believe that he's got some kind of weapon or a knife or anything. You know what I mean? You cannot hit him where you hit him and hit him as hard as you hit him, because the noise. It was like somebody's cracked a conker on the floor. That's what it sounded. It was just awful. It was an awful sounding. You know what I mean? That obviously the police officer's been named and shamed all over social media. The young lad's had his obviously his head shaved and had his scar obviously sorted out and his wound done. But it's just unnecessary over Ellis policing again. Over Ellis policing, which doesn't, you know what I mean, Si? When you're on about videoing the Cardiff Swansea fans and doing that, we spoke about that before, and it just ruins people's enjoyment of going to games, and people are going to stop doing it. So people are going to stop going to the Yorkshire derbies, the South Wales derbies, the Tyne-Wear derbies, Middlesbrough, Teeswear derbies. You know, it's just, you know what I mean. It's surely the police now are sensible enough to have a plan to keep people separate. You know what I mean. When was the last time we had any major problems against Celtic Rangers? You know, I can't remember the last time it was. You know what I mean. Going back years and years and years. There's more problems in the stands at the minute with those kind of games, and I just think the police just missing the trick where just separate before the event, and you're not going to get any of this just animosity and just any of this just unnecessary just people getting hurt, and it leaves a bit of taste in your mouth. It certainly does.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate, and I think it's I got to say, like I said a couple of times, it did shock me, and it frustrates me because I know people who've wrongly been accused by police of doing stuff, and then it's cost them their livelihood, it's cost them problems, caused them problems in their personal life, in their professional life, because the police have wrongly identified them as doing something, and then it's only when they've lost their job and it comes out months later that it wasn't them.
Yeah.
But they don't get an apology or anything like that. There's just, there you go. This happens. Even Brett Johns actually. When I spoke to Brett Johns, plug for that, and Scripted Uncensored, check it out. UFC star Brett Johns. He goes to the Swansea games when he can. He goes to the Welsh games. He was wrongly identified at a Welsh game of hitting someone. He had to go to the police station, and I'm pretty sure he said he got arrested. And then it turned out he was wrongly identified. And it's like,
well, reputation.
You know
what I mean.
He could imagine that it cost him his UFC contract.
Yeah, you know what I mean, and
because it was all over the news the next day.
Yeah, and all it takes is somebody to get hold of that on social media. Then it's out there forever. No one can ever take that back.
No. There you are. Johnny Wish says that the lad was he was with his mum.
With his mum, yeah.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
It just makes it even. Just makes it even worse. It makes it even worse. It just makes it even. You know what I mean? Obviously, he was there. He was there to do what he enjoyed doing and talk about games.
He's a vlogger.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, not nice.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, not nice.
And I agree with that as well. I think sometimes Johnny Wish says that football fans are fair game for police officers to have a little dig at.
Yeah.
And I think
that goes on side for you're on about in Europe, international football, that people enjoy. England fans going away, Welsh fans going away, Scottish fans going away, because they go there in the numbers. Champions League teams going away in numbers, and you just know there's going to be people trying to cause trouble for football fans in order to cause trouble. It's like it's already set up, and it's just such a shame because they're all going there for a reason. They're all going there to watch a game of football, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't happen. You shouldn't go to a game site and come back via the hospital or worse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. I completely agree. And unfortunately, far too many people over the past few years have gone to football and not come back.
Yeah.
There was a Welsh fan, Mikey Dye, who was punched by an England fan, and he tragically lost his life outside Wembley. A few years ago. It's ridiculous. But let's be clear, this lad, from everything we know, from everything which people have said, from the video, he wasn't involved in any fighting. There's no evidence to suggest that he's any sort of hooligan. He's a vlogger. He's 16. It was from behind. He wasn't attacking anyone. He wasn't doing anything like that. It was needless. It was over the top, and could have killed him.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the head injuries are, so vigorously protected everywhere, whether it's combat sports or elsewhere, because of the damage that it can do so quickly and long term as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know there was one other thing which you wanted to talk about in terms of any other business, but I think what we'll do, mate, is we'll leave that one.
That's fine.
Maybe either till the end of the show, or we'll leave it till next week. Maybe
I'm happy to do it next week, mate. Yeah.
Because we just spent a lot of time on that, but that's okay. Okay, so guys, as usual, you guys get to vote for the main 3 featured games. We put the polls out on Saturday on Twitter. I'm going to start putting them out on Facebook as well. I just need to make sure I can find a way to link them, because I don't want to have to total up 2 different sets of polls. This week, the polls are in, and the first game is Bristol City 1, Birmingham City 3, which was Friday night's game.
Not a fantastic start aside for Championship football again. That you know what I mean. I fully expected Bristol City being on a really good run. Obviously, spent a little bit of money. Well, spent quite a lot of money in the window just gone, and they got off to an absolutely fabulous start by a mistake by Roberts, who gifted obviously an early opportunity to Bristol City, and then I fully expected Bristol City to go on there and dominate the game and go and beat them 3-4, maybe more. But then all of a sudden it just became the Birmingham City show, and I thought Bella was absolutely fantastic. I thought Bellingham was really unlucky not to get a goal, and I thought Hogan was just running riot up top. And for for Birmingham to still be as good as good as they are from the season they've had previously and the really young squad they've got, it's just a credit to them and their manager, because for me they should have been ahead probably before they went ahead after 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Hogan got the equaliser on 23, and then Weinman scored quite a strange own goal from a cross, but just Bristol City really struggled from every cross. They struggled from crosses, they struggled from corners. They just couldn't really get out of where they wanted to be. And I thought Bristol City was just all over the place and not like they have been in previous weeks. And especially we've given them a lot of praise, Si, over the last month or so, because they've really picked up a little bit. And second half, they should have got level. They missed an absolute sitter just before Jukovic scored his goal and Birmingham's third. But I thought his goal was outstanding. That he led the line really well. Defenders bounced off him, and then he's an absolutely fantastic finish to put the game to bed. But for me, Birmingham fully deserved that result, and it just shows how far they've come, because they are inconsistent, Si. But you know what I mean. But for Birmingham City to be where they are in the league is absolutely fantastic, because they've got such a young side, and long may it continue, because you know what I mean. I was worried about them at the start of the season, and rightly so. But the players that they've got, the way that the new manager's got them playing, I think they've been a credit to the Championship, really.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Birmingham, like you said, they got such a young squad, and to be playing the way they've played this year is unbelievable.
Yeah.
To be as consistent as they have, because I think we said in the preview show or one of the early shows at the start of the season that we expected them to have games where they would play really well, but then they probably wouldn't be able to get that consistency going to make a real run of it. But they've got the talent that if you told us at the end of the season they were in the playoffs, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And they I think that's been a fairly accurate assessment.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to pick up.
So listen, you know, I mean, we're on about good sides. You know what I mean? That Preston blew everybody away at the start of the season. They've scored 45 goals. Birmingham have scored 40 goals, which shows that they've had a really good start of the season. The problem is defensively, they've let 48 goals in. And you know, I mean, you can't legislate for that, and that's why that they can't get any further up than mid-table, 15th in the league. But you know what I mean, they've got 40 points. There's a big gap between 11 points between the bottom three, and for me, I can just see them just comfortably guiding themselves to safety towards the end of the season, and then looking on towards for next season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not just Bellingham as well. They've got a few good young players. Bristol City. Now, I've been quite harsh on Bristol City this year because they've got a massive squad.
Yeah,
they've spent a load of cash, and they still don't seem to be able to get it together enough to get a run of games where they're picking up points on a constant basis. I don't know whether that's down to the manager. I don't know whether it's the mentality in the squad or what, or the balance is not right. I'm not quite sure what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But there's a problem there, and I don't see them going up. And I'm not convinced they're going to get the playoffs either.
If they don't get in the playoff side, for me, the manager's got to go, because the amount of money that they've spent and the size of the squad they've got, it's a massive underachievement. And you know what I mean? Just the Naki Wells signing in January window, it's a huge statement for them to push on and go at the next level. But he hasn't started a game since he signed. He's had 3 games on the bench, and yes, they've been on a good run, but they weren't on a good run before he signed. That's why they brought him in. So it's sometimes that it raises people's performance levels. It gets other players going, but for me, they need to get it right, because the manager's under severe pressure there. And I think some of his reactions, some of his interviews after the game are a telltale sign that he's struggling a little bit.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dick, to be honest. It is what it is. I just wanted to say, Ian, I haven't forgotten about your comment. I'm going to come back to it at the end of the show. But yeah, it is a nice cup.
It is a lovely cup.
Nice podcast. But I'll come back to that later on. Also, where did I just see a comment? I think it was Johnny Wish, maybe, or it might have been Gaz.
Yeah,
I don't know
it was.
Johnny Wish said that Birmingham need to keep hold of Bellingham and the other young players. Yeah, they do. it's going to be a massive issue for them if they lose those young players, because their squad is based around having this young core. And if you lose someone like Bellingham, who's the heart of that, it's going to be an issue. Just that, they've just lost their two best strikers, and you just can't see where they're going to, how they're going to be able to get any sort of form together.
No, you can't. And to be fair, the only saving grace I thought in the January window is Jude Bellingham would have got sold, but loaned back for at least the rest of the season. But that didn't happen, which is great for Birmingham, Birmingham City. But if it happens in the summer, I can't see him getting loaned back to Birmingham. I think I can see him getting a transfer and then getting loaned to another side of whoever's decision that may be, because people want the players to play at the top level and play for the best sides and push on to be a success, and that they don't want the players stuck in mid-table, etc. So in Birmingham we've got some improvements to make just so they can keep all of the best players side, because players want to win things and be progressive themselves, and at the minute Birmingham are doing great, but these kind of players want to go to the next level as well.
Yeah, one thing I'll say from a Welsh point of view, Ashley Williams last couple of weeks has looked back to looking more like the player he was previously.
Yeah.
I did wonder whether at his age he was ever going to get back to that form, and he does seem to be playing more like that. And one of the best chances Bristol had actually was from his little dink ball over the top, and Diadu just wasted the opportunity.
Yeah, it was an excellent chance, and then things also, it's fine margin side that that goes in. They're probably going to win the game, but it doesn't go in, and Jugovic goes up the other end and goes and gets the goal, and it's so disheartening for the players, for supporters, for everybody involved. But at the end of the day, you've got to take your chances. Fine margins, you've got to take them.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I completely agree. Do you think Bristol would have gone third if they'd won this game? Do you think Bristol will go up when you look at the form of the other teams?
No, personally I don't. I think there's too many teams up towards the top end of the table who have got probably more in the locker than Bristol City have got, and they've got more consistency. I look at Fulham. Fulham are on a wave at the minute, which I don't know I don't know when it'll stop or if it'll stop. Brentford are pushing along nicely. Nottingham Forest had a great result the weekend against obviously Leeds United. West Brom won in difficult conditions away from home against a good side. So there's 5 already of the top 6. So it's difficult. And you've got sides in the playoffs who, notoriously side you're going to get you get a side who push the playoffs all the way and notoriously go up. So we'll just have to wait and see, because there's always a team who gets in the playoffs last minute. Could it be Cardiff? Could it be someone else? And they're going into the playoffs pretty confident, instead of a Leeds United, for example, who might finish 3rd or 4th. They're going to go into the playoffs a little bit concerned, a little bit worried with form and the way that players have dipped.
Yeah, Gaz says Lee Johnson's overrated.
He's not had a very good. The thing is, also, he's not had a very good season this season. In terms of, for me, the amount of money they spent, I fully expected them to be pushing all of the way. That they probably spent more money than Leeds United by a country mile. They've got a bigger squad than Leeds United, but by a lot, I would have thought. There's something not clicking. There's something massively not clicking. And you look at a side like Preston North End. The difference between the league tables, for example, Bristol City in 7th place, Preston a place above them. That Preston, yes, they might be overachieving a little bit, but league tables don't lie, and at the minute, Bristol City massively underachieving.
Yeah. Next up is Luton Town 0, Cardiff City 1.
To be honest, I've seen. I watched most of the game, and I was concerned, to say the least, because we were being on about for ages about how slow Cardiff City start, how we give other sides an opportunity to get the foothold into the game, and to be honest, Luton should have been ahead. I thought Cardiff were sloppy in the first half. They should have been behind, but for some, I'll call it wasteful shooting, because they the players looked like they rushed the shots or they lacked massive confidence. Luton Town in front of goal, and especially the first half, that they dominated most of the game. As I say, in the box. I still thought second half, Cardiff started to become a lot more dangerous. They got the ball out wide a little bit more. I thought Joe Bennett down the left was outstanding, getting in some dangerous areas, putting some very good crosses in. I thought Ward, he should have scored. He missed a good one-on-one. But then all of a sudden, it just becomes a Lee Tolman show again. Si, you know what I mean? We can't say anything better and more about him because, you know what I mean, the way what late in the game, 86th, 87th minute, you grab the game by the scruff of the neck and you just pass the ball in the back of the net, and it's just a wonderful finish. But then even still, Si, that Luton probably should have got an equaliser after Cardiff scored, and that's my concern, that if Cardiff are going to want to achieve and get in the playoffs, they've got to be putting sides like Luton Town to bed. You know what I mean? I heard Neil House's interview about that they've got some games coming up against teams who are below them, who are fighting against relegation, and if they've got any aspirations, they should be winning these kind of games. And I agree, but it's the way that they're winning them. You know what I mean? Luton are on a really bad run, and you know what I mean, they're not really scoring goals at the minute like they did at the start of the season. They're letting a lot of goals in, and to be honest, they probably should have took something from the game on Saturday.
Yeah, but my point will always be is he's picking the team. He's doing the tactics, and I noticed it in the Reading game where I went to the ground to watch. Particularly, his tactics are so negative, and the team play slowly.
Yeah,
they don't press. They don't press as a team, and very often you have the likes of Danny Ward or Callum Patterson who are pressing at the front. They turn around, and the rest of the team is on the halfway line or deeper.
Yeah,
and they're getting frustrated because they're isolated.
Yeah,
that comes from the manager. That's not the players. Now, I'm not saying this is the best Cardiff City side that we've ever had. That I believe that the central defenders that Cardiff City have, are good enough automatically. But 100%. For whatever reason, they're not performing to the level have done previously, are capable of. And that's not just for Harris, as much as I would love to say it, because I'm not a fan. They weren't doing it under Warnock. In fact, in some slight ways, we've been better defensively under Harris, which again is strange in itself. But Cardiff have got problems. And I got to say, if they somehow jammily get into the playoffs and go up, I'd be amazed. But, I'll be happy. But there's at least 5 teams which are far superior to Cardiff City at the moment.
Well, so I look at games and sides who I'll use Nottingham Forest as an example. You know what I mean? They dominated a game on Saturday against one of the best sides in the league. You know what I mean? So if you're playing against a side of that caliber in the playoffs and you're sitting back and you're waiting and the terminology like boxing, that you're stuck on the ropes and you can't get off, and you know what I mean, sooner or later you're going to get hit with a sucker punch and you're going to be down, and you can't wait for that to happen. You've got to go for these chances. Don't come along too often. You know what I mean? Cardiff have got an opportunity now to get in the playoffs. The only way to get in the playoffs is by winning football matches, so they've got to go for the jugular. They've got to go and try and win games. And then if they get in the playoffs, they've done it by winning games and going for games instead of sitting and hoping that they're going to win. So for me, they've just got to go for it. Just the games that I've watched, it just lacks excitement. You know what I mean? There's a slow start in the first half, and we've been speaking about this for probably for months. You know what I mean? Since he took over, since the Charlton Athletic game, the first game of the season, from when Neil Harris took over. I've always spoke about how second half is a lot better, is a lot brighter, because the players are coming out with a different mentality. But for me, there's got to be something massively wrong with that, because it shouldn't be happening week in, week out, because teams can smell blood at times, and teams are just going to go at you and put you to bed before half time, and then it's too late, because you don't always get a chance to get back from being 2-0 down. You know what I mean? Cardiff have done it too many times this season. That's probably what's going to cost them. If you look at the fixtures at the end of the season or results at the end of the season, and you think, right, we should have got an extra 2 points there or extra point here, or you know what I mean? And we shouldn't be living a season by regrets. And you know what I mean? They've got to go for games from minute 1 to to minutes 70, 80, 90, 95, because that's the only way to do it in the Championship side. The team who are always successful, the teams who always go up, the teams who go and attack.
Yeah, and do you know what I would love to see, mate? I'd love to see the statistics of if you take Lee Tomlin out of the side, how many less points Cardiff City would have.
Yeah, great shout.
Because it's, without him, they just look dreadful. Yeah. They look bereft of ideas. They've got no creativity whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he's also scoring goals as well as creating them.
Yeah.
Glatzel, if I was Glatzel, I'd be infuriated because every time he plays, they don't put any crosses into the box. And then the second he goes off, they start whipping balls in left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
I'd be infuriated because whenever he's up front, they're playing it into his feet, or they're playing it like for him to run onto, and he's not fast enough to get onto the end of it.
Yeah.
But again, tactics. That's the manager. That's not.
You've got to play your strengths, Si, and I don't think the club they're not playing the strengths. You know what I mean? They're not. We said they're probably the club's probably two good centre forwards away from really pushing and really having a good go this season. But you know what I mean, you've got to spend money to do that. You know what I mean? You're not going to get it by young players or by bringing loan players in. You've got to go for it, and you know what I mean. It's the proof's in the pudding. You know what I mean? There's no point having a wasted season and thinking we'll go for it next year because teams are coming down, teams are coming up. The Championship's going to get harder and harder and harder each year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be some big boys coming down next year.
Yeah.
One of the few players who's coming out with some credit this year is Alex Smithies. I think he's been excellent since being
he's done great.
Restored to the side.
Yeah. Made some good saves.
Joe Bennett has also been decent as well.
Yeah, I thought Alex made some really good saves. He spread himself a couple of times where all he can do is save what's in front of him or put players off. You know what I mean? When he made himself big, especially in the first half, he did it a couple of times and he put the centre forward off and skied it over the crossbar a couple of times. And you know what I mean? He's kept keeping a very, very, very good goalkeeper out the side. So you know, he must be doing something right.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, you know, how much money was what's his name? I forgot his name.
Etheridge.
Etheridge. You know, how many teams were bidding? I think at one point there was rumours of like 10 million quid.
Yeah, massive money. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm sure when Villa got promoted last year, before they signed Tom Heaton, they wanted to sign him. You know what I mean? I think it was only the hamstring injury or the injury what he picked up that caused scuppered his chances of probably moving before the window at the start of the season. So it's, you know what I mean. I think having two really good goalkeepers helps push both each other. You know that. You know what I mean. I'm going back from my own experience that when you've got somebody like Ernie and Thorny and Leo, and you've got other centre forwards, Gavin Gordon, you're getting lads to push you. So when you're playing, you look around and thinking, right, I've got to raise it here because I've got people breathing down my neck, and it can only be a good thing competition wise. But when you're not playing, it's going to be hard for Etheridge to get back in, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll probably go at the end of the season. Yeah. Okay, let's get to the bottlers.
Oh my lord!
Next up, Forest 2, Leeds 0. I got to get it in. I've got to get the scoreline in because I can feel you're going to go now.
I honestly, I've never, you know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of Leeds fans on social media, a lot of Leeds fans in general, and it's the same week in, week out, season after season. They just get to a level and they just can't handle the pressure. You know what I mean? That they've. Bielsa came out in his interview and was. It says that the players didn't bottle it. You know what I mean? If they didn't bottle that game, from the start to finish, it was just an awful performance. You know what I mean? There's one thing I probably will say, Si. It's the worst time to play a game after Blackburn have just been beaten out on by Fulham. Brentford have just won against Middlesbrough. So they're going into a game knowing that they've got to get a result and they've got to try and win. Forest started brighter. I thought they should have probably had at least one penalty off a corner. Maybe they could have had two. Just before Sammy Obi scored with a great finish near post. I thought the goalkeeper wasn't expecting it, but I thought it was a really good finish by Amiobi. Leeds came back into the game second half, but just couldn't really cope with Joe Lolly breaking away. His pace was absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? He glides with the ball. He just runs with it, which takes the pressure off the back four. And Lewis grabbing how he didn't score with the one where if people are seeing it, the goalkeeper's on the floor and he still managed to hit him. So you know what I mean. Lewis has been fantastic all season. He was in my downs last week for missing a penalty and having an off day, but you know what I mean. He led the line really well. He dominated the game, which give Amiobi's, the Joe Lollies, the Cashes, he give them an opportunity to run the game. And Samba made a very good save. Just before the second goal to keep them in it. It was touch and go. I think it was half and half. It was a little bit. It was in, but the full ball wasn't over the line. But then Joe Lolly broke away, and it was his unselfishness to give it to Walker for the goal. It just shows what Forest are all about. It's a team game, but they've beaten probably one of the best sides in the league, if not the best. And it was very comfortable. And I'm worried a little bit for Leeds side because I don't know if they've got it in them to turn it around, because Fulham are breathing down the neck, Forest are breathing down the neck. We've got who else have we got? Brentford, Forest, Fulham, West Brom running away. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be difficult for them to stop teams catching them with the gap. What was it? Was 12 points, and then. You look now, you know what I mean, with goal difference on some of the sides. It must be difficult for Leeds fans to take, but the best side won on the night.
Yeah, I don't want to do Forest a disservice. I thought they were very, very good. Lewis Grabham, not sure what's going on with him. Since January, he has not looked the same in terms of his finishing. And that finish was a really weird one because the keeper was on the floor. So he literally just had to look up and place it anywhere. Yeah. But something wasn't right. And I felt like that for the last couple of weeks. He just hasn't looked himself.
Well, he was in my downs last week, Cypher. It wasn't his penalty miss. It was the easier chances he missed and his lacking of confidence. But Saturday, he could have put it left. He could have put it right. He could have put a bit of elevation on it. But he put the ball to the goalkeeper, the only place the goalkeeper was. I just found it very strange because he's better than that. He's far better than that. We spoke about him. If he led Leeds' attack, I think they would probably be pushing all the way for promotion. So, you know what I mean? Like walking away with the league, he can be that good.
Yeah,
just do it
I agree.
For Richie.
Yeah, evening Richie. Richie. So yeah, one thing I'll say about Leeds is at the start of the season, a few people mentioned to me that maybe I was being a bit too, I was building up Glick a bit too much and saying, you know, there's other players in the team or he's not as good as that. But he was running the game every game. Yeah. What I didn't realise is that he moved in January.
Where did he go?
Because he ain't. I know, I'm joking, mate. He may as well have. He's not having the same impact. He's just not everything which he was doing in the early part of the season.
So what's that down to, Si? Is that down to a manager not? Because what I'm hearing, when I speak to people about Leeds is not having a plan B. You know, they've gone down the Bamford route of same formation, Bamford. They brought Augustine in, who he came on. He looked all right. He put himself about, but I think they need more than that. You know what I mean? Are they going to play them both together? Is that the long term? Is that the long term plan and change the formation and change the whole philosophy of the season? It's an interesting one because you know what I mean. The manager seems extremely stubborn at times, and if he decides to change the whole philosophy of his season around and play the two centre forwards instead of the one, or he plays Augustine and he doesn't play Paddy Bamford, I'll be very interested because he's been extremely loyal to Paddy Bamford this season, when he probably shouldn't have been because he's lost
too loyal.
He's lost a very good centre forward, which has gone back to Arsenal. You know what I mean? Where at times when he didn't score I don't think he scored for 10, 12 games. So, you know what I mean? This isn't just something that's happened overnight. You know what I mean? There's been an accumulation of games. You know what I mean? They got beat by QPR. The drew with Cardiff after being through. You know what I mean? You can go back to do a couple of months ago and start looking at the cracks appearing. You know what I mean? This isn't just happened overnight.
Yeah. I think a lot. It must be nerves. Look, I just think that those same players who were ripping teams apart at the start of the season are not confident that the defense behind them is gonna keep the door closed.
Yeah.
And that's causing a lot of anxiety and problems throughout the team, because Leeds' defense in the last 2 or 3 games has been shocking, with a capital S. But I will say, just like Swansea before, playing against Cardiff seems to have been the start of their bad run. They surrendered that 3-0 lead to Cardiff City, and they have not been able to recover.
Yeah, but you just said
I don't know whether that's psychological.
You've just said that side about the defence. You know what I mean? That it's been all over the place. I'm going back start of the season side when they'd let something like 9 goals in about 17 games, and the defence was phenomenal. You know what I mean? They've now let 29 in. You know what I mean? So they're looking at now on average about a goal a game. That's too much for a side who as good as Leeds. You know what I mean? How good Leeds were. You know what I mean? They're letting far too many goals in and letting Leeds slip and just being dominated in the games that they need to win. You know, if they'd have beaten the teams in and around them, you know what I mean? They make their own little mini league. Then the league would be different, because I think teams who are fighting for their life down the bottom of the league side, what they got beat by Wigan last week at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They beat Millwall. They beat Millwall after being 3-2, being 2-0 down. They got beat at QPR the week before. They got beat by Sheffield Wednesday the week before that. And they drew with West Brom the Friday before that. So they've had a really, really tough time. They played some very good sides, but every game's going to be a tough game now. No one's going to be scared to go and play Leeds United anymore.
Yeah, just to finish off, I wanted to read through some stats. So Leeds' decline in numbers since beating Hull City to earn their 7th successive victory on the 10th of December. Leeds have won just twice in the Championship. They have trailed at some stage in 8 of the last 9 games since Cardiff City came from 3-0 down to draw on the 14th of December. Prior to that, Leeds had trailed on only 4 occasions in 22 games in the league. They've conceded first in every match they've played in 2020.
Wow.
The last time they scored first was on the 29th of December in a 5-4 win against Birmingham. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 10 games. In the 10 matches before that, they kept 7 and conceded only 3 goals. And they've now failed to score in 4 of their last 5 matches, having only hit a blank on 3 occasions in the 26 games prior to that.
Those stats are quite scary, really. That's not a form of a team looking to get to the Premier League, because I'm going back probably around Christmas time when they played Arsenal in the FA Cup in the first half. I thought they were like Real Madrid. They were hitting the crossbar. They were ripping Arsenal to bits, and then all of a sudden, since that game, it just hasn't worked out for them. You know, I don't know what it's been. If is it a confidence thing? Is it a bottling thing? Is it the teams have worked them out a little bit, that they've worked out the formation, so the tactics are a little bit more. Are other teams more adaptable during the game? You know what I mean? Does Bielsa need that plan B? You know, Leeds fans, I'd love you to come and tell us what the problem is and what you think what you believe the problem is, because from outsiders looking in, we look at the result, we look at the performance a little bit, we see the highlights, and for me, I watched the game and I thought Forest massively dominated the game, deserved the 3 points, but last week against Wigan, yes, missed chances, have a lot of possession, but there's got to be something fundamentally wrong at the minute, because those stats, what you just said, their side don't lie. They don't lie, and the league table's not lying anymore. The gap's been massively chalked up, and now they've got some good sides who are chasing them, who don't look like they're gonna falter at the minute.
That's not even bottling it. Or getting nervous. That's completely capitulating. They had a 13-point lead at the top of the table at one point.
Yeah.
So And now you think, are they going to even make the playoffs?
No, that's the thing, Si. You know what I mean? That they've got to change their fortune around very quickly, because if they end up in the playoffs, it's going to be hard for them to raise their game in a playoff scenario or situation to play against some sides who are in form against them, who are going into games not scared or intimidated. You know what I mean? They'll still remember the derby game from the playoffs last year. Still be rife in people's memory. So you know what I mean? These things, the mental scars, they're still there. You know what I mean? They are still there, and you know what I mean? The players have got to overcome this, and with the supporters' help, with the manager's help, but they need to do it very quickly, because it'll be a disaster for the football club if they don't achieve what they've set out for this season.
It's worrying, mate. We're really worrying. Sorry, I was just looking at what Johnny Wish said. The YouTube numbers are going up and down.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. So, guys, we're going to move on to the rest of the championship games now. But just to let you know, today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. You can visit Away Day Apparel, Away Day Apparel code.uk. Latest clothes and offers with some big things planned for 2020. Definitely worth following them on Twitter at Away Day Apparel or Instagram at @awayday_apparel. And as a special treat for listeners and viewers of Ace Podcast Nation, if you use the code AA Podcast Nation, you'll get 10% off all orders and use that code. It's case sensitive, all lowercase, AA Podcast Nation, and you get 10% off all orders. Okay, so let's move on. We spent so much time on any other business today. We're a little behind in time, but the joys of being our own thing is we can go as long or as short as we want. And I had an agency contact me the other day. Did I tell you that?
No,
probably shouldn't have told you that during the live show, but there we go. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Good.
There we go. But yeah, so maybe Johnny Wish will get his wish, as it were. See what I did there?
Yeah, I like that.
And
playing with
the
names.
I end up on a radio.
Yeah,
maybe, but we don't need to be on the radio. We don't need the radio. Don't need those people telling us what to do and say.
No.
Goodness me. Okay, so we've covered Cardiff's boring tactics. We've covered Birmingham's youthful exuberance. We've covered Leeds bottling it. And now we're going to talk about Wigan 1, Preston 2. And I'll tell you what, the goals which Preston scored in this game were an absolute delight.
Yeah, the worst side. Just the football that they play. They look back to the best side. They're like, what, the 6 unbeaten. You know what I mean? Wigan got a good result last week against Leeds United. So probably a place that Preston wanted to go. Local derby, you know. So it was a very good performance first and foremost, and the result followed. You know what I mean? The first goal where Daniel Johnson found himself free on the left hand side, and he crossed the ball to Barkes, and who just smashed it home. It was great. And then the two linked up again in the second half to set up Danny Johnson, who cut inside on his left foot and smashed it home. And you know what? They fully deserved the 3 points. You know that. I thought Wigan were climbing out of it, and they obviously changed their fortunes a little bit. But this will be a setback. It'll hurt them a little bit. But they've just got to go again. They've got to dust themselves down, and you know what I mean, and take the positives out of the game. They played against a very good side who were good going forward, and they created a couple of chances themselves. Scored a half decent goal. You know what I mean, bit of ricochets left, right, and centre. But you know what I mean, they can probably still see Charlton in the grasp. You know what I mean, Charlton are dropping a little bit like a stone, but they need to catch them. What is a 4-point gap between them? The two ahead of them. Had 2 fantastic results, so they've got to look after themselves and try and get out that bottom 3, because it's going to be difficult. Because there's so many teams in and around there who are on form at the minute.
Yeah, Wigan have been in really good form.
Yeah,
they haven't always got the reward for their play. I thought Preston were excellent, and like we discussed, we both tipped them for relegation, and they've shown us up. But I really want to see them go on, because I feel like next season is going to be really hard for all clubs who don't make the playoffs this year, who just miss out. All those clubs who don't get there, they're going to have problems next year, because the teams coming down are going to be massive.
Well, they're also going to have problems, side, because Barkhazen, for example, has had a fantastic season. Are you going to be able to keep hold of him? Daniel Johnson's having a great season. Are you going to be able to keep hold of him? Because you've got sides coming down, sides coming up. People are going to pay a little bit more money than Preston do. You know what I mean? They're not a massive club. You know what I mean? They're not renowned on paying a lot of money and spending fortunes on players. So it's going to be a difficult one for them if they do get in the playoffs and miss out. You know what I mean? And they had a really good start side, so I really do hope they can sustain it. A, just to make me and you look stupid, which would be great, and B, because they deserve it, because they've had such a really good start. They fell off a little bit, but they've managed to turn the fortunes around. And when we say that about Leeds United, you know what I mean? It wasn't us being disrespectful and things. It shows if sides can do it by hook or by crook, or by working hard, or by changing the tactics, then, or just bringing in the odd player, that since Scott Sinclair signed, their fortunes have changed around. So, maybe it's something little, just change tactics. So it's, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's the little things what can turn the season around.
Yeah, great signing. And I got to say, I thought the first goal Preston scored was outstanding team goal.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, Barkhausen, I can't see him staying.
He's had a great season.
Even if they go up, I don't see him staying. I think he's been, because holding midfield such a specialised position, that I just feel like top clubs will be after him, because there's not that many. Like when just after Makelele came on, like just after he sort of retired, there was a few. Around at the very top of the game, and it was like the in thing. But last couple of years, there's not as many, and I just think that. Sorry, I just had a worrying notification about my Microsoft account. Hopefully, it won't cause any issues, though. So let's move on to the next game. We mentioned the incident after the game for this one, with the young lad who was hit by a policeman over the back of the head. But the actual game finished 1-1 between Barnsley and Sheffield Wednesday. And we talk about Leeds bottling it. Sheffield Wednesday have been all over the place these last few weeks.
Yeah, they have signed. Obviously, they've made a couple of signings. They signed Josh Windass, they signed Connor Wickham. Obviously changed the way that they play a little bit, with obviously new signings coming in. And they took the lead through Josh Windass. Very good goal. I thought it was a really neat and tidy finish. But then you can't legislate for a goalkeeping mistake from the goalkeeper from Dawson. It was it's just inexcusable, really. And it just gave Cauley Woodrow, who's having a very good season. But the manager said at the full-time side, they're not in a position that they can afford to drop points and draw games. They have to start winning football matches. They create so many chances. Dawson had a fantastic game, apart from obviously the mistake he did for the goal. But at the end of the day, Barnsley have to start winning games. Yes, they're down the bottom, but they score enough goals. It's the 57 goals they've let in. It caused them a massive concern and a massive problem. And that this broke the duck a little bit, because they've lost the last 4 before that. But they need to start winning football matches. And Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know what's going on there, because I can't see them turning it around and being able to catch a chasing pack, because there's too many players, too many teams. Sorry, who are playing a lot better than Sheffield Wednesday are at the minute.
Yeah, they. Do you think it coincides with the fact that when Stephen Fletcher, you remember over Christmas, where he all of a sudden wasn't in the team?
He didn't play for
after he'd scored
illness apparently. And then Jordan Rhodes got a hat trick at Nottingham Forest to beat them 4-0. They went away to Leeds United. They won 2-0 comfortably. And then all of a sudden, it's since those 2 games. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if there's been a fallout, if there's something that people don't know about, but there's something not right, because it's been a disastrous turn of the year, really, for Sheffield Wednesday, because you know what I mean. That you take the mistake out the game side, they probably win that game 1-0, 2-0, and probably go on. But end of the day, you know what I mean. It happens, unfortunately, and it's costing them, because one goal's just not enough. And Barnsley kept knocking at the door, and eventually they got the rewards.
Indeed. Johnny Wish says Cardiff should sign Cody Woodrow. Good shout.
It's not a bad shout, yeah.
But he's the sort of player they need. They need pace. Gotta say, they just need pace.
Yeah.
Next up, Blackburn 0, Fulham 1.
Yeah,
Mitrovic
since we've
for his 20th goal of the season.
Since we tipped Blackburn to get promoted.
Yeah, I know.
Kiss of death. They haven't won in 2. But thing is outside. They go away at Middlesbrough, tough game. Home to Fulham, really tough game. You know that. I thought going forward, Fulham were absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the goalkeeper, Walton, then it should have been and probably could have been a lot more. Mitrovic, Cavallero, Reed, Kearney. It's just relentless, you know what I mean. Then you've got people coming off the bench. You've got Kamara coming off the bench. They've just got a really, really strong squad, and it's relentless attacking. And when you can go to Blackburn Rovers and go and get 3 points, it shows that you've come a long way a little bit. And Fulham are starting to turn the corner at the right time for me.
Yeah, I agree. They looked good the last couple of games, Fulham. They've looked more like what we expected this year to be, with Mitrovic getting the goals and your Tom Kearney's and providing the assists and playing very well.
Yeah,
it's a strange one, because I feel like if they hadn't had that ropey patch sort of just before Christmas, they probably would have been right up there. Like, they would have been away with, if you consider where they are now, and you add in those points where they were dropping, to draws and wins, and they were dropping those points to sloppy performances. They could easily be clear by 5, 6, 7, maybe even more points.
Yeah, I totally agree, Si. I totally agree, and I think that's it. It just shows that they've that obviously the club's stuck with the young manager and giving them an opportunity, but the players have got in their squad side and the starting 11. You said there, Mitrovic is the best Championship player for a good few years now, and you know what I mean. They've been very fortunate to be able to keep hold of him, and when you've got somebody like him leading the line for you, you've always got an opportunity to win a game.
Yep. Guys, remember at the end of the show, Andy will be answering your questions. So if you've got any questions, drop them in the live chat. And we've also been asked to provide our Welsh and English all-time 11 or all-time squad, which we'll give during that part of the show as well. Brentford 3, Borough 2, mate.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I knew it was going to be a really, really hard game. And Brentford, the way that they go forward, the way that they attack, and Middlesbrough give it a good go. You know what I mean? They changed the formation. They went a little bit more attacking. He ditched the 3 at the back and went for a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. And what they went 1-0 down. They probably could have been behind before, but goal line technology saved them a little bit. And 1-0 down at half time. Get level by a decent strike by Lewis Wing. Straight off kick-off though. Unfortunately, that Brentford go to the other end and score. Then Middlesbrough, same thing. They go back over the end, get the equaliser. Then the game settled down a little bit. And then, you know what I mean, the show's talisman a little bit. Ollie Watkins goes and wins the game with his standard goal, and it just shows how strong Brentford are, and especially Ollie Watkins as well. That, you know what I mean, we've raved about him on here, and you know what I mean. It's not nice that he scores a winning goal against your team, but good players are like goal dust at the minute. You know what I mean, and match winners, and you know, especially at the time in the games where teams want to need points. You know what I mean. That would have been a disaster for Brentford if they'd have drawn that 2-2, especially with the way that obviously Leeds lost later on, and some other sides dropped points and some other sides won. So it was all important that they got the 3 points against Middlesbrough. And to be fair, I think they deserved it. Probably just, but I think they deserved it.
I thought very impressive, actually. You know, Brentford had been on fire.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be a tough game for Borough, but some good goals and just good play. Brentford are just relentless at the moment. Even when they're not playing at their very best, they're grinding out results.
Yeah,
and I think they've played better than this previously. Over the last couple of weeks, but
but then it tells a story, Si, when they've done they've done the double over middle of the season. You know what I mean? That's no mean feat. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough are a big side, and for a side like Brentford to do that, you know what I mean? It gives them an opportunity to kick on and push forward. You know that they're real contenders to get promoted. You know what I mean? They've probably come a little bit as dark horses, and we're probably not talking about them as much as we probably should, but they've given themselves an opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. I keep saying absolutely. Got to stop that, mate. Got to stop it. I keep saying the same phrases. Absolutely. Josh De Silva again, mate. Outstanding as well. By the way, Ollie Watkins as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's on me. You need match winners. You need creativity. You need players who can change the game on the top on from nothing really. And I think they did that. I think Middlesbrough surprised them with the tactics. But at the same time, they deserve to win.
Now we're getting some people back in the video. Joining the live chat, guys. You're late. How dare they? So yeah, next up was Huddersfield 2, QPR 0. Huddersfield, mate. The Cowley brothers. Wow.
Yeah, game of 2 hours for me, side, because I thought QPR were the best side in the first half. I thought Jordan Hugill missed a couple of really good chances. He snatched at a couple, especially off a corner, and you've got to take your chances when you get them. But obviously, QPR are obviously a little bit in disarray with obviously losing Naki Wells, and he was a big part of how they did it. And I thought second half, going forward, I thought Huddersfield were absolutely outstanding, and they didn't look a side who were looking at relegation. They looked like they were free flowing. They looked really confident. They looked like they had a little bit of a buzz about them. And maybe that's just the fear factor gone out the window, and the managers letting them play with no fear and just letting them enjoy the football a little bit. And you know what I mean? I can't see them going down. You know what I mean? They've got far too much going forward, far too much in defence now with some of the new signings. I fully believe that next season, he could have them as high as he wants them, really.
Yeah. I'd be really interested if he can keep them up. If the Cowley brothers can keep them up, I'd be really interested to see how Huddersfield can do next year, because you can see just by the way they're playing, like the potential for their tactics, the way they like to play football, some of the players that they've got there. Be really interesting. But it looks like they're going to stay up. It looks like.
Yeah,
it's not over.
It's not over. It's not over. I totally agree. But you've got to lose enough games, and sides have to win enough games below you. You know, and I think a result on Saturday like they got will fill us so much confidence, because QPR are a good side. They score goals, they create chances like they did on Saturday. But you know what I mean. If QPR were in the mix a little bit further than they were, I'd worry about them a little bit, because similar to Hull, that you can't get rid of players and not replace. So I think they're on 38, Wigan are on 29. It's even 9 points at this stage. It's a big ask, because that means Wigan winning 3 on the belt and QPR losing 3 on the belt. I can't see that happening, because you know what I mean. You've just got to make sure when you play the sides in and around you, that you pick up enough points which keeps you safe.
Yeah, QPR are a bit up and down. Big blow to lose Naki Wells as well. Obviously, there was a minute silence before this game as well for Jordan Sinnott, son of Lee Sinnott, who tragically lost his life after being attacked, which is horrifying and sad to see. Okay. Next up, Reading won. Hull City won.
Yeah,
Hull managed to score a goal.
Yeah, they did. They draw specialists, aren't they? Reading love a draw. And if they could turn those draws into wins side, they'd have probably been flying up the league because since Mark's took over, I think he's done an absolutely fabulous job. To be honest, I think he's done a really, really good job. And I was concerned about Hull. I thought they were better. I thought they created a few more chances than what they did. I thought it was Raphael in goal for Reading. I think he made a fantastic save first half onto the post. He got a good hand onto it, and it stopped Eves from scoring. But I'm still worried about Hull long term. I don't think this season, because I think they've given themselves they're 11 points clear. So you know what I mean. It'd be a big ask for them to lose every game, but I don't think they're going to score enough goal side to give them an opportunity. You know what I mean? That was their first point in 6 games, and you know what I mean. They've got some tough games coming up. They play Blackburn away, they play Swansea at home, Preston away, Barnsley at home, Leeds at home. Yeah, they've got some really, really, really big games coming up, and games which are going to really test them out. But they've got to score more goals. They've got to give themselves an opportunity to flourish side. But if that's the way the club's going, and they become and they're a selling club, and they're not going to replace, then they can't really blame anybody but themselves.
No, they cannot. I was not expecting them to score, to be honest. After selling Grzycki and Bowen, I just couldn't see where their goals were going to come from. But they did. They scored.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And then next up, we've got Stoke City 3, Charlton 1. Charlton not getting any better, and Stoke improving steadily.
Yeah, well, this was a massive game for both sides. You know what I mean? Before the game, obviously Stoke were below Charlton, so for them it was a must-win game. And during the game, I thought they fully deserved to win the game, and took the lead through James McLean after good work by Nick Powell. And against a run of play just before half-time, Charlton got themselves level through a great finish, I thought, from Purrington. I thought he timed his run really well, got his studs in the right place, and put it past Butland, but second half was just men against boys a little bit, and Stoke were just relentless going forward. Joe Allen's pass to Tom Ince, I thought it looked a little bit offside and a little bit dubious, but you know what I mean. It was the ball through was outstanding, and the finish was very good. And then Nick Powell got himself a very good goal, and after that, Charlton didn't really give themselves an opportunity and push themselves forward. And you know what I mean. They're massively under pressure. You know what I mean. They obviously got took over not so long ago, and obviously with the Lee Boyer debacle about Cardiff City, etc. And you know what I mean. They need Lyle Taylor to get them out of a little bit of trouble, because there's a 4-point gap between them and Wigan at the minute. The relegation is looking out of probably the bottom 4, because Stoke are obviously in form, winning games and can win games. Middlesbrough haven't won in a few games. QPR dropping, Hull are dropping, but I can't see many teams apart from the bottom 4 probably going down apart from those for me.
The frightening thing is, mate, is a couple of months ago we were talking about Hull.
Yeah.
If they could keep Jordan, if they could keep Jared Bowen and Grzycki fit and keep them in January, that we thought they could go up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We thought Charlton at the start of the first few months of the season, we said if they can keep everyone fit and they can maybe add a lone player or two in January, they had the quality to make a late run or a run at the playoffs, maybe. But they would need a lot of luck because their squad was so small.
Yeah.
And they've just gone off a cliff. Charlton, I feel for them because they got a pretty young squad. They got a small squad. Their best player has had a long-term injury. And then you've obviously got, you've got Bowyer as well, then, who was clearly distracted by the Cardiff stuff, which has affected the whole thing with the team.
Well, I think the bigger picture side, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've just said there those two things, and then you've got a takeover in the middle of it as well, which has affected obviously the fans' morale and support, and has just messed the season up a little bit. You know what I mean? I bet, and I think if you offered Lee Boyer and Charlton to finish where they are now, I think they'd take it 100% and then move on to next season and push on and sign some players and spend a little bit of cash and push on in the Championship.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, Swansea City 2, Derby County 3.
Surprising start, Swansea aren't on a great run. You know what I mean? This isn't me being anti-Swans and, you know what I mean, I have my blue hat on, but, you know what I mean, they're on a really bad run. You know what I mean? No getting away from it. You know what I mean? They play the pretty football, they create chances, but Derby scored 3 goals. I'll be honest, I thought the goalkeeper could have done better for all 3. Waghorn, the first one, the goalkeeper parried it out. He tapped it in on the line. Then all of a sudden, Swansea, at half time, they get the tactics changed around a little bit. They get themselves ahead. They go 2-1 ahead. And then all of a sudden, to capitulate like they do and to crumble, Dwayne Holmes scored another very good goal. But again, I thought the goalkeeper could have done a little bit better. And then the last goal from Tom Lawrence, very good strike, of course it was very good, but it was in the centre of the goal, and the goalkeeper didn't dive, which, I'm not, you know what I mean? It was a very strange, you know what I mean? People have a look at it. If you haven't seen it, have a look at it, because it's the last goal for me. You know what I mean? I'm a centre forward myself, so I'm probably more critical on goalkeepers than I probably should be. But the last goal, was he wrong-footed? How can you be wrong-footed? It's in the centre of the goal. There's not took a deflection. It's not gone through anybody. You can see it all the way, and he was nowhere near it. And that's, you know what I mean? That was worrying for me, because it's a poor result. You know what I mean? But I got to give Derby some credit aside. We'd written them off. I'd written them off massively. You know what I mean? Cocu, whatever he said to Mr. Rooney is working wonders. You know what I mean? Wayne's dominating the midfield. He's got energy around him. I think Knight's been a revelation. Dwayne Holmes, Waghorn, he's getting more out of him than anybody's ever got out of him. And Tom Lawrence, ever since the incident with the players and drinking and stuff, he's been absolutely fantastic. And you know what? He needs credit for that, because he could have ruined his season. But you know what? He's got his head down. He's let his feet do the talking a little bit. He stayed out the limelight. He's not made a mistake since, and he's letting his feet do the talking on the pitch. And you know what? Fair play to him, because he's a match winner. On his day, he's a match winner. He's a very, very, very talented footballer. And he's giving Derby fans something what they missed at the start of the season. And you know what I mean? They're on 43. They're 7 points behind the playoffs. You know what I mean? And for me, start of the season, the way that they were going, they were relegation fodder. 100%. They were falling like a stone, and they deserve to be down there. But now, if they can get in and around the playoffs, they could cause somebody a problem, because, you know what I mean? Because they've got players who can hurt you. And when you've got Rooney and Tom Huddleston and some of the younger players, Holmes and Knight, Tom Lawrence, you know what I mean? They've got some players who can damage teams on the day. So, you know what I mean? People have to be wary of how good Derby are. But, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's not us about being negative towards Swansea. Derby are a good side, and have changed their fortunes around.
Yeah, and, you never know. Tom Lawrence might make Andy's Welsh and English all-time 11 towards the end show. You never know.
Maybe we reserve team.
I will say, I think, never know. I will say that since Rooney come in, all of a sudden, mine Waghorn looked fantastic.
Yeah,
Tom Lawrence is looking good. Holmes and Knight look settled and much more together than they did previously.
Yeah.
And we wondered how Rooney was going to settle in, whether he was going to unsettle the manager, but he's really turned their season around. But Tom Lawrence, since the Keogh stuff, kept his gob shut and just played. And he was long before Wayne Rooney came.
Yeah.
Tom Lawrence was in good form, playing good football.
Yeah, he was. He deserves some credit.
He
deserves some credit for it, because, you know what I mean. Even it must have been so difficult for him to put his boots back on and to earn the respect back from his teammates, from the fans, from the club, and he's done that, and he's doing that, and he's doing that 10 times over, and he just deserves an opportunity to flourish and to play on this performances, he deserves to be playing for Wales.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll go. I said back when it happened that I wouldn't pick him for the Euros, but Wales don't have a massive pool of players.
No.
And I wonder on this form whether he should be in it.
Yeah.
However, Swansea, on the other hand, Cardiff ruined their season.
Yeah.
Ever since they played Cardiff, both times their form's gone off a cliff.
Yeah, but it's a 46 game season. You know what I mean? So forget all these people giving me stick when Swansea won 1-0 and Swansea drew 0-0 and Cardiff haven't scored against Swansea. It's not about 2 games. If Cardiff lost 2 games this season against Swansea City but got promoted, I don't care. I don't care less.
Couldn't give a hoot. Yeah.
Couldn't
and the
care
thing
less.
is that when you build up these games against big sides as your cup finals, it's difficult to then go on and play the smaller sides, and that's what they do. They build Cardiff up as their cup final, and
the thing is, also, and I don't like that, because for me, you raise your game against a side that you can sustain that week in, week out, and the good players can do that. The good players can do that, and it probably tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does indeed. So, small club mentality.
Yep.
Forget what it's called. But anyway, next up is Millwall 0, West Brom 2. The final game of the show for this week.
Awful conditions, absolutely disgusting.
Ridiculous,
disgusting conditions. You know that. Yeah, you know what I mean. I know you can't foresee what's going to happen, but you know what I mean. For West Brom to play some of the stuff what they did, and you know what I mean, to play the conditions, because that's what you've got to do as a player. You've got to play the conditions. You sometimes your game plan goes out the window, and West Brom dominated the conditions better than Millwall did, and some of the attacking play by West Brom was absolutely brilliant, and I'm a big fan of the way that Slaven Bilic is changing his front four. Because I thought Matt Phillips last week was fantastic, but he put him on the bench. He had Grzycki on the bench. He had Charlie Austin, who led the line last week on the bench, who scored. So he went from Robson Kanu, Pereira, Robinson. They're inundated with very good players, and the side they're going to take some stopping, massive stopping, because I can't see West Brom not doing it with the squad they've got, with the manager they've got, with the support and the size of the club. You know what I mean? It's all geared to get back to the Premier League for me.
Yeah, I can't see West Brom doing a Leeds. I got to be honest.
No, I don't. I can't. I can't see the manager allowing it, mate, I'll be honest. I can't see the manager allowing it.
Well, I wouldn't have thought that about.
Do
you know? I thought Beisler would have learned from last year, and I just didn't see Leeds doing it again. Yeah. Particularly when they had the Glicks and the Hernandez and all these players who just looked invincible.
Yeah. But I look at West Brom's span of the team, though. You know what I mean? You've got your Charlie Austins, your Robson Carnus, you've got your Pereiras, you've got your Sawyers, your Livermores, your Bartley, your Ajay, your Johnson. Do you know what I mean? These kind of players, I can't see them. I can't see them letting this happen, because they're all quite experienced players. They're all, you know what I mean? Some of them have played in the Premier League before. They want to get back there. They want another shot at it. Obviously, Gareth Barry's still in the squad as well. Kieran Gibbs in the squad. These players have been there. They've wore the t-shirt, and it looks like hopefully they'll get another opportunity at it.
Yeah, they got some big games coming up. They got Reading, Forest, Bristol City, and Preston before the end of February. So
huge games.
If they come out of those with 2 wins and a draw out of those 4 games, I think they'll be pretty much done and dusted.
Huge games.
Okay, so that's the games for this week. So now we're going to give our 2 for 2, where myself and Andy pick 2 big performances, moments, or players for the weekend. So let's start with the negatives, mate. What you got first?
I've gone for Birmingham City's Mark Roberts, the defender. He gave Bristol City's opening goal after 46 seconds or something from a back pass. And you know, I mean, we speak about players side and clubs, Cardiff in particular, can't give sides an opportunity and a helping hand and a start in a game, and nobody can do that, because if Birmingham didn't turn that game around and they got beat 2-3, that's how things start, and you can't afford to do it. It was a really, really bad error.
Yeah, I've got a keeper. I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday's goalkeeper, Cameron Dawson.
Great shout. It was awful.
Poor clearance. Fired it straight to, I forget who it was now.
Collie Woodrow.
He fired it to the Barnsley player.
Collie Woodrow.
And it's cost him a game.
Yeah.
You know, it's cost him a game, or it cost him 3 points, or should we say they've dropped points. And Sheffield Wednesday, a lot of it be coming from mistakes, and it was a really poor, needless mistake as well.
Yeah.
And as we've said all along, we'll be fair. We've criticised keepers over the season, but we've also, given them the praise when they've needed it.
Yeah.
What about your second one, mate?
Well, I've gone for a goalkeeper, and I've just said it in the second to last game there. So it was Woodman from Swansea for the 3 goals. I just thought they were very strange that 2 he parried out straight to 2 Derby players, and the last one he didn't move. So you know what I mean. It just didn't look right for me. It just everyone's allowed an off day. I had plenty in my career, but you know what I mean. I think Woodman won't be happy with his performance on Saturday night when he got home.
No, I don't think so. It was poor. Don't know what they're on about.
I'd be deadly serious.
Yeah, me too. And then I've got for my second down, I've gone for Leeds' defence, and just overall mentality is absolutely shocking. And they just don't seem to learn from the previous seasons.
No.
And I can't believe that it's the same team which was playing and looking so invincible at the start of the season, because they look shot. They really do look shot.
We mentioned it earlier there about Arsenal. They played Arsenal off the park for 60 minutes, and this is the same squad, same team, same manager, same setup, same tactics. It's just disastrous for them. Disastrous.
Yeah, I just can't see how they're gonna rescue it. I can't see how they're gonna stop the slide.
It's only going to get harder.
Means they're going to miss out on the playoffs.
It's only going to get harder as well, because there's going to be more pressure on them next game. There's going to be teams breathing down the neck, which is going to are they going to be able to handle the heat in the kitchen? Let's see how they handle it over the next couple of weeks.
Well, all signs point to no. Yeah. Okay, so before we get to the questions and our combined Welsh and English all-time 11s, let's do the 2-ups for the week. Who have you got first, my friend?
I've just had a go to goalkeeper, so I'm gonna stick with a goalkeeper theme tonight. And Christian Walton from Blackburn Rovers, I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and I was gutted that he was on the losing side against Fulham, because he made some wonderful saves, and I was so pleased that he played as well as he did, because you know what I mean. Blackburn played really well this season. It just shows that it's not just about the front five who we raved about. You know what I mean. They've got some other good players as well, and he's certainly one of them. And you know what I mean. For me, he deserved to be on the winning team, and I was so disappointed that he wasn't.
Yeah, look at our YouTube and Facebook filling up again now, because they know the Welsh and English all-time 11s are coming. They know it's coming. It's going to be Robbie Savage, captain, Vinnie Jones, vice-captain,
Barry Horn,
Paul Bowden, Barry Horn,
Paul Bowden taking penalties,
John Hartson. I'm going to ignore that. Because as an Englishman, I don't think you can ever discuss penalty shootouts ever. You just can't.
I know. I got in there first, though, didn't I?
Yeah, you got there before me. It's the first time you've done that, though, I suppose. Is get there before anyone. Oh!
Hey, apart from Danny Shitu.
Yeah, well, his name says it all, doesn't it? Bless him. He retired after that game, I think, didn't he? He never played again.
Yeah, that's what I do with people saying retire them.
Goal collecting retirer. So I've gone for the first one. I've gone Ollie Watkins of Brentford.
Great,
just outstanding again. Not just his quality, mate, but his work rate, leading the line from the front. Got the winner again. 20 goals this season. And he's not even a striker.
I know, it's annoying. It's annoying, like,
by trade.
He's making it look easy this year, and you know what I mean. Whatever he's changed.
After you made a career making it look difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I made it look difficult. He's making it look easy. So he's making me feel sick a little bit.
No, bless him. No, he's been quality, mate. He leads from front really well. And
he does,
20 goals.
And do you know what, Si? For him to do it regular, you know what I mean, not just as a stopgap, because that's what I thought he was going to be, a stopgap until they've got somebody else, but he's made that position his own, and you know what I mean. It'll be and by all accounts, they're not a selling club anymore, Brentford. So they're on about getting a new stadium, splashing the cash. So let's see where they end up.
Well, look how much money they've spent. That's why I thought he was going to be a stopgap, because I thought they were going to spend 20 million on a striker.
Well, I think they probably would have done, side, to be honest. I think they probably would have done, but then I think he's done that well that they can't really justify. And
no,
are they going to get anyone better than him at the minute? What fits their bill? I'd say no.
No, I don't think so. And for your second up, mate.
Second, I've gone for, obviously, a favourite of the show. I've gone for Joel Ollie because I thought he was outstanding. I thought him, Amiobi, and Cash, the three of them behind Lewis Grabbing were just brilliant. But he is just his unselfishness to run, his unselfishness for the second goal, for Walker's goal, was just brilliant. And, you know what I mean? The 1-0 up, he could have snatched at that. He could have had a shot. He could have wanted to take the glory himself. But to pass that to an open goal and give his side the 3 points just shows what kind of a player he is.
And finally, before we get into the good stuff, the fun stuff, I've gone for Tom Lawrence for my final up derby. Like, rightly slaughtered by us over the Keogh incident. Rightly given a load of grief. Rightly dropped bans from the Welsh and the Derby squad. But he's kept his mouth shut, got his head down. He's been outstanding ever since he came back into the side, well before Rooney came into the fray. Yeah. And he's just, since Rooney's come in, he's carried on that form, and he scored a great goal to win the game.
Yeah.
Even if the keeper was a bit dodgy for that. Okay. Let's get into these questions then, my friends. So, guys, you can send questions for every week to Andy or myself if you so wish. You can send them at facebook.com/ACEcastNation, either by private message or just send them to the post we put up, or Twitter at ACEcast_nation. Same, either the post or to Twitter, the DM. And you can also email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com. And of course, you can drop them in the live chat. So we'll leave the combined Welsh and English 11s until last, because that's going to be the most lengthy discussion. We'll go with, so we've got Peaches sent a question, which she always does. Okay, so are you worried about Jordan Pickford's outburst from an England point of view? Is the pressure getting to him? With Pope and particularly Dean Henderson breathing his neck for the number 1 jersey for the Euros?
You can only judge people's side by the performances, and I think Jordan's mistake at the weekend shows that he's obviously not happy with the way that he's playing. But then he goes 10 minutes later on and pulls out a really good save. So is it an isolated incident? I don't know, because he must be looking around at the other goalkeepers and thinking, that I've got this goalkeeper and that goalkeeper breathing down my neck, and I don't know. Just to some people, that can be a good thing, but I don't think sometimes it affects people in the right frame of mind or gives people confidence, because he's obviously making a few more mistakes than they should be doing, and that's only going to be good for Tom Pope and Henderson, because they're playing really well. And do they deserve an opportunity before the Euros? Yes, they do. You know what I mean? Then it's down to them to take it, because obviously Jordan Pickford's been great, but maybe someone else deserves an opportunity to see if they can flourish, really.
Yeah, I think so. I'd be inclined, if I was picking it, I'd probably start with, if the game was tomorrow, I would start with Dean Henderson. I think he's been the form keeper out of the three of them. He has plenty to do with Sheffield United, so he's going to be sharp. Pickford, I've always thought he's got a mistake in him.
Yeah.
This season he's made a few. I do like Pope as well. I also like Tom Heaton.
Yeah.
England are quite rich in the goalkeeper department, to be honest. Although, is Tom Heaton injured?
Yeah, he's done his cruciate. Yeah, so I don't think he'll be fit for the Euros. So I think you're limited to those three now. So I think that those three will be your three going forward. And
who would be the fourth if one of them gets injured or dropped?
That'd be an interesting one. Would he go down? Would he go down a younger route of 21 under 21 goalkeeper? You know what I mean? Because Gareth's obviously not scared to do that. You know what I mean? He's done it
Henderson
before.
No, neither Henderson or Pope are old, are they? They're both quite young.
Yeah, no.
So I just. Would you go for an experienced keeper as a third choice, just to have that bit of experience?
I don't know for me though, because you look at the rest of the squad. Potentially, you've got young players in the squad as well. So you know what I mean. Would you put an experienced player in just to help the younger lads out in the tournament? You know what I mean. Gareth's philosophy at the minute's been, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So you know what I mean. That long may that continue. Really.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Joe Hart, is it?
Well, Joe's probably your only option, who's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, and you know what I mean. I wouldn't have any qualms if he was in the squad, in the team. You know what I mean, because he's done it. You know what I mean. He's obviously lacked a lot of confidence since losing Man City, and rightly or wrongly, it hasn't been great. But yeah, it's not just, it is what it is, isn't
it? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Gaz wanted to know why hasn't Andy done an episode of Unscripted and Uncensored?
I don't know. I don't know.
Too scared. He's too scared. Yeah. I asked him, and he said,
Probably.
"No, I can't. I'm too scared."
Intimidation. Yeah, I don't know.
He had so many weird questions in the first 27 episodes of this show that he just was like, "Nope."
Yeah. I'll do it one time. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it sometime in the summer. Maybe we should just do it, a live version of it on, like, in the build up to the Euros, perhaps when there's no friendlies and no football on, and we'll just do it on a Monday night. Just bang it and just go whang.
Yeah, definitely.
Stop moving your microphone.
Sorry.
Peaches. It's all right, mate. It's all right. I'll forgive you. Okay, then. Let's finish off with the fun stuff. Peaches, first thing that comes to mind when you say this. Best striker in Premier League history.
Alan Shearer.
John Hartson or Emil Heskey?
I played with Emil, so I've got to go Emil. I played with him. I know how good he is.
Emerson or Ravanelli? Played with them as well, haven't you?
I played them both. Yeah, I'm gonna go Rav, because Rav scored a ridiculous amount of goals in one season for Middlesbrough. So I'm gonna go Rav.
Fat Frank or Stevie Dollar?
Fat Frank.
Okay, and greatest Middlesbrough player of all time?
There's only one. Bernie Slavin. My hero.
Most overrated player of all time?
Probably me, but no, I won't do that. I won't do that myself. Most overrated player of all time? It's a difficult one, that, isn't it? Do you know what? You put the idea in my head earlier, and I'm going to say Robbie Savage.
Shocking.
I'll just do
most
that for
underrated. Yeah. Most underrated player of all time.
Well, we talked about him last week, so I'm going to go Leon Jean, because there's only probably Cardiff fans who know about Leon, and Leon was probably one of the most talented young boys I'd ever come across, and if it wasn't for addiction and obviously lifestyle, I believe he could have been as good as he wanted to be.
It's a good shout. And I'd like to add a question quickly before we do the squads. Will your soon-to-be born baby little girl have a Cardiff City kit or a Middlesbrough kit for her first football kit?
Oh, it'll be one of those. It'll be one of those, like, half and half. So red on one, half blue on the other.
Half and half, is it?
Yeah, that's not
a bad answer. When I asked Sophie that earlier, she said, "If I've got anything to do with it, neither."
she won't have one on. Yeah, exactly. I knew she'd have said that.
Okay, so Johnny Wish asked over the weekend for us to name our combined all-time English and Welsh 11s or squads. Me to do one and you to do one. And he also asked us to name. I've got to pick the England Euro squad next week, and you've got to pick the Wales Euro squad next week, which will be interesting.
Right, okay.
So look out for that. But we're going to go through our Welsh and English squads. So let's go. We'll do them together.
Okay.
Who have you got as your keeper?
There's my goalie. I've gone for Neville Southall, and just because I was a big, massive fan of Nev growing up, I thought, you know what I mean, that Everton goalkeeper dragged them through a massive time in their history and pulled Wales through as well. So I had no qualms in putting him in, even though England had some really good goalkeepers in Shilton and David Seaman, etc. Joe Hart. But for me, he deserved to be in it.
So you're making me look bad now because I went for Peter Shilton. I put Neville Southall initially, and then I changed it to Peter Shilton, and I changed it for a really petty reason. And the petty reason is I asked Neville Southall to come on the podcast, and he blanked my message, so he got dropped to the bench. There you go.
I've gone risky. I haven't got a sub-keeper. I've gone risky.
Right.
I've got a sub-keeper.
Oof.
Risky.
So what formation have you got?
I've gone three centre halves because I was just inundated with midfielders, so I just had to go down that route.
Okay, so I've gone 4-3-3. So go on, tell me your defenders then.
My back three. So I've gone Rio. I don't think I can see past Rio. I think he's the best defender England have had in my generation. And I've gone John Terry. Not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, he was Mr. Reliable. Did it all for me defensively. And to join those two, I've gone for Mr. Gabidon because I know how good Gabs is, and for me, I think with him and Rio together, I know they're good friends off the pitch, so I know there'd be an amazing trio, the three of
them. So I've gone for my central defenders are Rio Ferdinand and Danny Gabidon. Gabidon just beat Bobby Moore, which is probably controversial to English people, but there we go. My right back is Gary Neville. And my left back is Gary Speed.
Speedo, like it.
Okay, like it. Midfielders.
Oh well, I've gone five. I've gone strong. I've gone a really strong midfield five. So I've gone a right, a left, and I've got three centre midfielders. Two. Well, I wouldn't even say sitting, but anyway, I'll go with me right. So I've gone David Beckham on the right. Can't see past Becks. I needed to find his position for him. But a lot of my players are probably going to interchange. On the left, I've gone John Barnes. Because John's just hero. I've gone three in the middle.
Interesting.
It is, but I've gone three in the middle. I've gone two defensive and one behind, or maybe one defensive and two behind. I've gone Ryan Giggs in the centre, pulling the strings with Gaza, and then Gareth Bale behind my two centre forwards.
Attacking.
Yeah.
So I've got as like a kind of holding midfielder or central midfielder, Brian Robson.
Yeah, well, I thought about the guy.
I'm surprised you didn't have him as he's your hero.
Yeah, I know he is, and he's my ex-gaffer, so don't put it on Twitter and tag me in because he won't be happy.
I got Brian Robson centre, and then I got Aaron Ramsey and Paul Gascoigne.
Oh, like it.
And then for my so who have you got up front? Two left, haven't you?
Yeah, I've two left. I've gone one of each. I've gone Gary Lineker, and I've gone Ian Rush.
Oof. So up front, I've got Ryan Giggs on the left, Gareth Bale on the right, and Wayne Rooney in the middle.
Ooh. See,
Rooney's made
my bench. My bench is probably just as strong as yours, but well, if not stronger. My bench is ridiculously strong. So I've got my subs.
So
I've gone.
I didn't cheat like you when I had a sub keeper.
Oh, I can have a sub keeper, but Wayne Rooney likes to play in goal now and again. So I've gone. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've gone 7 subs. I've got Frank Lampard.
All right, okay. Hang on a minute. I got go on. You go.
I've got 7 subs. I've got Frank Lampard, Stevie G, Craig Bellamy, Alan Shearer, Mark Hughes, Aaron Ramsey, and Wayne Rooney. All attackers. Got no defenders.
Yeah. So
got no defenders or no
subs,
goalkeepers.
My subs, Neville Southall, Ashley Cole, David Beckham, Craig Bellamy, John Charles, Alan Shearer, and Ian Rush.
Yeah.
I couldn't decide between Ian Rush and Mark Hughes. I was really struggling to pick between them two. No Gerrard, no Lampard in my team whatsoever.
Vicious.
So guys, let us know whose side you think is best, and let us know who we missed.
Yeah,
no doubt we missed someone's favourites.
I missed loads, but it's opinions, isn't it? It's opinions, and
it's
you know what I mean?
It's all opinions, isn't it?
Like there could be lesser players, lesser teams. It'll beat my team, for example, because mine's quite offensive, and could get caught left, right, and centre.
Well, I like the balance of mine against your attacking team.
I see. I think I'd fancy my three centre. I fancy my three centre halves to just dominate the game and just me attacking 15 or whatever it is will just dominate the game. Then, won't it?
Yeah, maybe. But I got Brian Roll in the middle. See.
Yeah, I know. Gutted.
Just he's pulling the strings, laying it off to Gaza and Aaron Ramsey to feed Bale, Rooney, and Giggs. They destroy your defence.
Oh, I'm not happy with that comment.
What's that?
Getting beat 1-0 already, me. Getting beat 1-0 by you.
Yeah, well in, Ian. Well in.
Nah.
Good lad.
No, I'm not having it.
Good lad. See,
opinions.
So
everyone's got one.
Yeah, that's right. And Ian's got the right opinion. So just to finish off the show, let's finish it off with the greatest 10-second segment in radio, TV, or internet history. The fake Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Mr. Campbell teaches me all about his northern culture by telling me about a place, a slang, some sort of phrase, whatever it may be, preparing me for my trip to the Northlands.
I've taught myself something this week because I didn't know Middlesbrough was called and named Ironopolis because of its business with the industry and all the iron and the steel. What? So I taught myself that this week, which is really good. I've gone down the Middlesbrough famous managers, football managers. So, and I taught myself something new as well, which I spoke to my dad about. That Don Revie was born in Middlesbrough, and also the late great Brian Clough. So you know what I mean, two of the best managers England's had in its probably history, both born in the mighty Middlesbrough.
Nice, I like it a lot. And that's good. I'm telling you, mate, by the time I come to the borough, I'm going to be speaking Middlesbroughian. Oh, good. Right. Guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you to everyone who's been in the live chats on Facebook, on YouTube, getting involved in the shows. And I'm going to try and get to the bottom of why the numbers keep jumping up and down so vigorously and quickly. It's a bit weird. I think it's something to do with people being logged in, but I don't know. All our shows are available in video format, not just the Andy Campbell show, but also all the other shows, the MMA show, the films and TV show, the unscripted, uncensored, our new series, My Story, which is coming soon. The first episode is probably going to be out this Friday, featuring former England Test cricketer and fast bowler Chris Lewis telling his story. Which is a very, very interesting show. He's obviously got a very interesting and colourful story to tell. Loads coming up. Loads and loads coming up. I've also got a quick interview with Weekend Defender co-founder Sam Jones coming. Not sure if that's going to be this week or next week. Got the Danny Batten show, a Danny Batten MMA show, looking at the weekend's UFC show, which dropping Wednesday. So yes, plenty to come. You can find Andy on Twitter at AndyCampbell32, me at ACEcast Nation _Nation. Please give us a subscribe on youtube.com/AcePodcastNation. That's the best way to support us at the moment. And in answer to Ian David's question, he said, where can we get the merch. You can get mugs like this and a t-shirt like the other one I was wearing. The store is coming soon. It's in the process of being sorted. But
Like
in the
it.
meantime, check out Away Day Apparel
Yeah.
for some more awesome t-shirts and stuff. Use the code AA Podcast Nation for 10% off all your orders. Little Clockwork Orange inspired t-shirt here. And yeah, they got some awesome stuff coming in 2020. I've had a sneak peek of some of their interesting, proper, nice clothes. There's, especially if you like your designer clothes, then you'll like some of the stuff which is coming their way. And also, they've got some good stuff coming for the Euros. Check them out. Top guy runs it. And it's been a pleasure, mate.
As always, mate. As always. Been great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been a good crack, mate. Good crack.
Yeah,
Especially, I'm buzzing now because I beat you 1-0. So that's it.
Hey,
And a champion.
We've got extra time, Si. You know what I can do extra time.
No, that's right. Next week, just by here, it's going to say, just by there, it's going to say, Ace Podcast Nation champion.
I'll have to up
It's
again.
Andy Campbell!